What's up guys, and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to do a full review now on the newest setup on the Honda Civic Type-R, which is the H&R lowering springs along with the H&R wheel spacers. So my setup, I did 15mm spacers up front with 20mm in the rear, and then H&R's sport springs. So basically this is all of course with the stock wheels. This is going to give the car a really good upgrade from your factory setup without compromising. That's the biggest thing that I like when I modify my car. I don't want to compromise scraping, rubbing, having all those negative effects just to make the car maybe handle better or look better. So this setup, you're going to get all the benefits without any of the issues. So let's take a quick look at the car and then take it for a spin. Taking a look up close now, you can see the wheel gap. Now these lower the front by 3/4 of an inch, and then in rear they lower it by 0.6 of an inch. So the original ride height, the top of the fender, was about 26.5 inches from the ground. So now we are right in line with what H&R says. And then for the wheel spacers, as you can tell, even with the car dropped, you can get a good look at how nice and flush that is with the 15. And then the 20 in back is also going to be nice and flush. So far, I've been really enjoying this setup. I did just have an alignment. Good thing I did. Now, when I first bought the car, the steering wheel was a little crooked. I could tell the alignment was a little bit off. Whenever you do lowering springs or any type of suspension work, you're going to always want to make sure that you do an alignment. So here is the numbers that we got on the alignment. As you're going to be able to tell, it was a little bit messed up in the original form. As you can see, steering wheel was a little crooked, and then some of the toe and camber was a little messed up, and then now there's a good look at the new numbers. So everything is nice and in check, and that definitely makes the car even better. So with the sunlight on this side, hopefully we can get a good idea again at that wheel gap and everything. Nice and flush, and the car just sits really good. It's low enough to have a better stance, but not so low that I've had any rubbing issues or anything like that. So this is basically the perfect setup to just have the car looking how you would want it. So let's go for a spin. Now the Type-R has an adaptive suspension, and all your drive modes are still gonna work just like factory, but it's improved over stock. So to begin with my review of this setup on the car, this is something that I've done on a lot of cars. Our Audi RS3 has the springs and spacers. My old Nissan GTR, same thing. My old Supras, same thing. There's a reason why I've done this exact setup on a lot of cars. Particularly, all these cars have the adaptive suspension. So with a car like this, if you change it to coilovers, well, that might be a really good setup if you're truly doing track driving. You're gonna completely remove your adjustable dampers that come factory. And now that more and more sports cars and performance cars offer an adjustable damper to where your different drive modes literally change the stiffness of those dampers, it doesn't really make all too much sense to go aftermarket coilovers anymore, just because you're kind of missing all the benefits, especially for a road car. Now, if it's a track car where you're literally only on the track, of course, do a crazy awesome adjustable coilover and dial it in for track use. But cars like this, you want to be comfortable on the road, you want to take it to the track, to the autocross, to the mountains. You want to kind of have a blend of everything. And doing these sport springs, you retain all that factory setting. So I'm in comfort road right now, and the suspension is nice and soft. It pretty much feels exactly like stock. Only thing I notice, if you go under big bumps, once the suspension starts compressing just a little bit later, you feel it being a little bit stiffer. So they're slightly stiffer for the big bumps, but the normal day-to-day driving, hitting little bumps, this feels just as normal as it always did. Now, when I go into sport mode, the suspension instantly stiffens up a little bit, feels pretty much like it used to. And then of course going into the R mode, to where we are in the full-on hardest suspension setting that Honda gives you in this Type-R, it once again stiffens up. So we get to retain the factory settings. However, because these springs are a little bit stiffer now, a little bit lower now, we're improving the handling of this car. So when you start driving aggressively, that's when you notice, especially in the performance modes, that you have that stiffer suspension. Accelerating through turns, you don't even feel the slightest bit of body roll. This car already handled so flat stock, but now because the stiffer spring rate is there with H&R springs, it's even better and flatter in the corners. It's so cool to experience such a flat go-kart-like handling out of a car that you can then tone back down into comfort mode, and once again we're in a normal, comfortable car. So I really am enjoying the benefits. I'm not getting any negatives like losing out on the factory suspension, but I get all the fun factor. And then if we get onto a bad road, again, just going under some bumps, you know, it's absorbing bumps nicely. I don't have to worry about scraping because we're dropping the car less than an inch. Realistically, most sports cars, if you drop it an inch or less, that is the sweet spot to where you're not going to sacrifice actual road going characteristics and ground clearance issues. And personally, I don't want a car that's scraping everywhere. That kind of ruins the experience. There's nothing fun about having a car that scrapes on everything. That's kind of a dumb way to do it, honestly. I just don't get the guys who are slammed on the ground scraping their frame. That's just stupid. You basically lose out on the functionality of a car, so it's completely pointless to go that route. Some guys do it. I mean, have fun with whatever you want to do, but if you're going to drive your car, that seems like a really dumb way to go. So that's why I really like the lowering springs, because you know, less than a 1-inch drop is just ideal. Back into the performance setting once again. Car is so flat and agile. This car is so much fun to take turns. Now with the wheel spacers, so these factory wheels look so good, and quite honestly, not everybody wants to spend $2,000 to $5,000 on a new set of wheels and tires. This car only has 2,000 miles on it. I don't need to waste the money on new tires because I got new wheels that are wider with a more aggressive offset to get that flush fitment. You know, not everybody wants to spend that kind of money. You can get a set of wheel spacers less than 500 bucks and you are good to go. And these stock wheels look so good. When you poke them out and they sit nice and flush, they just look a heck of a lot better on the car. And on top of that, because we are now widening the front and rear track, we are effectively widening the stance of the car, which also further lowers the center of gravity. So not only have we dropped the car's center of gravity by about 3/4 of an inch, we've now widened the track by 40 millimeters, 30 millimeters, which further drops the car, technically speaking. So you're getting better handling characteristics because of the wider track along with those springs, and because they're not too crazy wide. You know, we're not seeing any rubbing from the wheels or anything. 15 up front, 20 in the back seems to be a really good sweet spot. I'm pretty happy with it. I have seen a lot of people do 20 all around or 20 up front and 25 in the rear without scraping. So that's still a good way to go if you really want to get closer to that as wide as you can go aspect without rubbing. And then of course you could go wider if you wanted to, but then you might run into some issues. But 15 and 20 definitely seems pretty good. And also with the suspension, there's hardly any acceleration or deceleration, squat or brake dive. It just seems really planted, really stable. And you just got all the benefits. It handles so good. The steering feels normal. With this wheel spacer design, it's not too wide to where you're gonna get any vibrations through the steering wheel or anything like that. And honestly, for the people who are gonna say wheel spacers cause issues to your wheel bearings, this is no different than taking these same width wheels with a slightly more aggressive offset. So whatever the stock wheels are, you know, if I had a 15 millimeter more aggressive offset for the front wheels and a 20 millimeter more aggressive in the rear, it's the exact same aspect. It's the same amount of pressure that is going on to your wheel bearings. However, they can handle stuff like this. It's really no big deal. Race cars use wheel spacers like this, so there's really nothing to complain about. It's when you use the non-hub centric eBay garbage ones that are made of cast aluminum rather than machine milled billet aluminum with the hub centric lips. And you know, when you go 1.5 inch or 2 inch or something ridiculous on your 200,000 mile car, that's where you see issues and that's where they get the bad rap. But high quality parts, you know, you get what you pay for at the end of the day. And that's why we stick with the H&R brand. We use them on all of our cars and have no complaints. So that is about going to wrap it up for my full review with the H&R springs along with the wheel spacers on my 2024 Civic Type-R. Overall, it's a great setup. You're not sacrificing anything. I haven't scraped anything. I can get it into my driveway easily. You know, it drops the car about 3/4 of an inch, so it looks perfect. The wheels are nice and flush, and a great way to utilize your stock wheels, your stock dampers. So you get all the benefits without breaking the bank and without sacrificing. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, stay tuned for plenty more content, and take a look at the links below on our website. We have a ton of parts for the 10th and 11th generation Honda Civics, the Acura Integra as well. So a lot of goodies for these cars to really make them your own and improve them inside and out. That is it, guys. We'll see you in the next video.